Hi, my name is Dave Colomar. I was a high school teacher for 25 years and now live in Beaverton. Recently, my college-aged sons asked for help in improving their writing. Noting that they needed a review of basic grammar, I decided to tutor them. Out of those tutorial topics came the video you are now watching. I think that this video will help you and other middle and high school students learn basic English grammar in a clear and simple way. In the video, I use a young woman named Mary and her love of sports to illustrate the various grammar ideas, and thus the title, Mary's Balls. So please watch the 7 modules and enjoy learning English grammar. Thank you. So what is grammar anyway? Well, it's simply the structure and function of language and its recommended usage. Now, it's best when grammar is standardized or standard so that everyone can understand it. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're reading a book and this sentence comes up right here. I ain't never went to Alaska. Now, it's understood. We can understand what this person is trying to say, but this is not the standard way that we learn to use the English language, at least in high school. And I'm using high school graduation or high school graduated student as the standard of what the English language that we should use. In other words, what you learned in English classes in high school throughout the country is normally what we call standard English. So this sentence, instead of being that, this sentence would be used by a local group which would understand it. But if you went nationally, you'd have to say this: I have never gone to Alaska. This is the preferred grammar, and it's clear to anyone throughout the United States if you graduated from high school. Everyone understands. Standard English grammar is what we're going to be looking at in this course. Now, does grammar ever change? Well, yes, it does. Grammar evolves slowly, but it does change. And let me show you through this sequence here how it does change. Starting out with common language usage, in other words, how the language is used by everybody. And this is picked up by language experts, usually professors of literature or linguistics. And they analyze the language and come up with what they regard as what the standard grammar should be. And then they write grammar books saying, this is the standard grammar that everyone should be using to be understood. The grammar books are read by professional writers who then write novels, plays, magazines, newspapers, essays, and so on, which of course the public then consumes or reads. And the public may accept this grammar as it is, or accept some of its changes, and then it goes back to common usage, and again back to the language experts. So this is a cycle that goes on very slowly, but it does go on, and this is how the language not only stays the same, but also changes in small ways. Let me give you an example of a change that we have had. You have these choices of I will go to the store or I shall go to the store. Now, 100 years ago, both of these would be not only acceptable, but both of them used about equally as frequent, as often. But today, we use shall more in the sense of what shall we do as a question, or you shall pick up your toys now, talking to your children, where shall is used for emphasis. So these changes of shall have come about just in the last 75 to 100 years. Is grammar full of rules, or are there options? Well, most of grammar is rules. However, there are some options. Let me give you an example. If I say Mary are an athlete, how does that sound? Doesn't sound right, does it? Well, that's actually grammatically wrong. but there's a reason that it's wrong. Marry is a singular person, but are is a plural verb, and you can't combine the two like that. So obviously, Mary is an athlete is correct. This is a rule, and we basically can't change it, because if we do, people aren't going to understand what we're saying. If you want to have a plural, Mary and Susan, then you can say Mary and Susan are athletes, and that is correct. Here's another example of something that has changed. For whom are you waiting? This is correct, but it's kind of stilted, it's kind of stuffy. And over the decades, we've come to say, who are you waiting for? The old rule used to be, don't you put a preposition, for as a preposition, don't put a preposition at the end of a sentence. But through common usage, people have accepted this now, and the second option here is certainly allowed. One more example. Those of you who enjoy Star Trek will like this one. The mission was to go boldly into space. All right. The old rule used to be if you have this verb form to go, you don't put a word in between the to and the go. But very clearly, Star Trek did that. The mission was to boldly go into space. So this is called splitting an infinitive, putting a word in between the to and the go. This is becoming more and more acceptable now, and so gradually the grammar rules will change to reflect that. Now, we're going to move on into what grammar is today. And for the most part, we're going to concentrate on what a sentence is and the grammar of a sentence. A sentence is the basic unit of communication. A sentence is a group of words in a particular order that conveys a message. So at this point, this is the definition we're going to use. Sentences can be made in two ways. Here's the first way. Mary is an athlete. This is a sentence that shows no action, but simply states a fact. The second way to make a sentence is like this. Mary kicked the ball. This clearly shows an action. Kicked. So we can have sentences that state a fact or sentences that show action. We're going to start our talk about grammar and mainly about sentences that show action. Mary kicked the ball. I want you to take a strong look at this sentence, because this sentence we're going to be using as an example throughout the course. It is the classic English sentence. Each word in the sentence has a function. Mary, for example, is the subject of the sentence. Mary does the action. She is the only word in the sentence who is doing something. That makes Mary the subject. And the way we abbreviate subject is with a capital S. The word kicked is the action. It is action. And a word that causes action is called a verb, and we abbreviate that with a capital V. Ball is receiving the action of kicked. Ball is the direct object of the action kicked, and the direct object we always denote capital D-O. So if we look at this sentence as analyzed by grammar, it's subject Mary, kicked verb, the ball, direct object. Let's look at some other examples. We have not only Mary kicked the ball, but how about Bob ate a sandwich? Do you see the same pattern? Subject, verb, direct object. Jane read the book. Fred sang a song. Now I know this sounds very simple, but we're going to build on this as we go into more complex grammar. So hang in with me there. We're going to take our basic sentence and we're going to add some words now. We're going to add the word athletic and the word soccer. So now the sentence reads, Athletic Mary kicked the soccer ball. Okay? We've actually expanded the sentence. Athletic describes Mary, something about Mary. Any word that describes the subject of a sentence is called an adjective, and we abbreviate that ADJ. An adjective tells something about the subject. Soccer describes the ball. It's also an adjective, so sometimes an adjective can describe the direct object, and it's abbreviated ADJ. These are examples of other adjectives that we could have used, but didn't. So if we take a look at our new sentence and analyze it, we can see Athletic Mary, adjective, subject, kicked, verb, soccer, adjective, ball, direct object. Again, what we're doing is assigning a function to each of the words in the sentence. The word the, we're going to get to in a few minutes. Let's take the sentence and add to it again. Athletic Mary kicked the soccer ball powerfully. We've added a new word, powerfully. Powerfully describes kicked, which is a verb. So any description of a verb is called an adverb. Powerfully is an adverb, and we abbreviate it ADV. So if we take a new look at the sentence, we have Athletic Mary, adjective, subject, kicked, verb, soccer, adjective, ball, direct object, powerfully, adverb. Remember, adverb describes the action of a verb. These are other examples of adverbs that we could have used. Notice most adverbs end in ly, but not all of them. Some of them, for example, well and hard, do not end in ly. Now, let's take a look at our basic sentence and expand it once more. Athletic Mary kicked the soccer ball powerfully into the net. Into is called a preposition. Prepositions are usually small words that are at the beginning of a little group of words. Other prepositions would be in, of, at, for, with, and so on. For example, right here, I should have gone straight to these. These are examples of other prepositions. Into the net, we call a prepositional phrase. It consists of a preposition and a word at the end of the phrase, making it a prepositional phrase. When we have a prepositional phrase and we want to analyze it in a sentence, we're going to put parentheses around it like this. Anytime you see parentheses, it will indicate prepositional phrase. Into is a preposition by itself. We're going to denote by the capital letter P. Net is the object of the preposition. It sort of receives the action of the preposition. And we're going to denote that by OP, object of the preposition. So if we take a look at this sentence, the first part of the sentence is very much the way we've said it so far. But finally, into the net, notice we have it in parentheses. We have the preposition denoted by a capital P, object of the preposition by an OP. This whole process is called analyzing a sentence. And we're going to continue to do this throughout the course. Now, prepositional phrases, why do we even use them at all? Because they add information to a sentence. They make a sentence more interesting. They tell you more about the sentence. Let's see what I'm talking about here. Prepositional phrases sometimes show where. In the room, on the street. They could also tell why. For freedom, in anger. They could also explain how. In secrecy, by the numbers. And sometimes they tell when. Before lunch, at midnight. All prepositional phrases. Here's an example of another sentence which is different than Mary kicking the ball. Let's read through it together. Hungry Mary ate the delicious sandwich quickly at the table in the restaurant near the edge of town. Okay? Now by this time you should practically be able to do this yourself, but let's walk through it. We've got hungry as an adjective describing Mary. Ate is the verb. Delicious is an adjective describing sandwich, which is the direct object of ate. How did Mary eat the sandwich? Quickly. Quickly is an adjective describing ate. At the table, in the restaurant, near the edge of town, each of those is a prepositional phrase. Now we could have left out all these prepositional phrases and we would have had a sentence up here, but you can see all of these add information to what Mary is doing. Let's take a look at another sentence that is similar to the one we just looked at. Handsome Bob drove his new car happily along the highway, over the bridge, past the library. Okay, we have Bob as our subject. Handsome is describing Bob, so handsome is an adjective. Drove is what the action was, so that's a verb. His, new are both adjectives describing car, which is the direct object of drive, or drove. Happily tells how Bob drove, so happily is an adverb. And then we have a series of prepositional phrases. Along the highway, over the bridge, past the library, each a prepositional phrase. By the way, along, over, and past are all prepositions. There are about 45 prepositions, and you can easily Google these up, but in time you get to know most of them that are used frequently. Let's take a look at this sentence now. Oops. Mary and Bob played volleyball. What's different about this than other sentences? Well, first of all, Mary's not playing soccer, but now Mary has a friend, Bob. And we have two subjects. Mary and Bob are both subjects of this sentence. Mary and Bob played volleyball. What's connecting Mary and Bob? This word and. And is a connecting word. And connecting words we call conjunctions. And conjunctions we always abbreviate with a capital C. Played is the verb, volleyball is the direct object. Here's a similar sentence. This is a different sentence. Mary likes soccer, but Bob prefers golf. Here we have a sentence, Mary likes soccer, that could stand by itself, and another sentence, Bob prefers golf, that could also stand by itself. But we've connected them with a conjunction called but. This allows us to say more in one sentence than having each sentence come out kind of chunky. We've connected them, two sentences, to make one larger sentence. Again, the use of a conjunction. And let's look at this example. Mary ate dinner after she finished work. Again, we have a sentence, Mary ate dinner. Another sentence, she finished work. but both of them are connected by a conjunction after. It allows us to make a long sentence a more interesting sentence than we otherwise would have. Again, a connecting word is called a conjunction. It joins two words, and we abbreviate it with the letter C. Here are some other examples of conjunctions. Again, conjunctions connect two words together, or sometimes two groups of words. Finally, I've been promising you that I would explain a, an, and the. They really don't have a function except to say if a word is general or specific. Let's take a look. If I say a ball, that kind of means any ball. But if I say the ball, I'm talking about a particular ball. If I say an apple, it just means any apple. But if I say the apple or the apple, it means a specific apple. So these are they're called articles, and they just show how specific a particular word is. That's their only function. And that is the end of Module 1. I hope you will join me for Module 2, and remember, there are 6 or 7 modules in the course, and at the end of the course you will be able to do wonderful things with your knowledge of grammar. Thank you.